Cobalt Migration. Chapter 9. Julian Phillips with Tom Luong. August 2, 2018, Vallo, California. All rights reserved. The Cobalt Migration is the multi-generational story of the world's first settlers on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, and how a clandestine space program recruits and trains a unique family of individuals over 4 generations for this service. View weekly chapters of this freewheeling story, now on Facebook as clip video narrative shorts. The Cobalt Migration is written in process for print publication by 2019, as the third in a trilogy of new science fiction novels about local planetary exploration, more than 300,000 words now on Amazon.com. Please enjoy. Chapter 9. Many years later on planet Mars, the matron Qualari counseled Barisa, the new arrival. "So you can see, Bariska, your family history is entirely human," she said. Bariska, or Barisa, was by then in the 3rd month of her life review counseling with the Yellowknife Mars Settlement Immigration Intake Monitor. The matron was a mature woman, with her own story. How it was by then that anyone would find themselves as a resident of planet Mars was unusual by any standard. She was not a somber or morbid person at all, and after an initial adjustment over a few years, Qualari was able to see her life on Mars as a fantastic adventure that she could learn from personally, and that also was a tremendous blessing and happiness for others, even many others. Like many of the Mars settlers, they viewed their lives on Mars as a service to mankind, as explorers, pioneers, and visionaries. "I am a human being," matron Qualari, Bariska said. "What would I be if not human?" "Not too many human beings are from planet Pluto, dear," Qualari said. "In fact, technically, in terms of your birthright, it is my own information that you are the only person, or the only human being, ever born on planet Pluto, ever, in all human history. You, dear. But of course you are a human being." Then why did the Japanese great-great-grandmother Malutenaka claim to be impregnated by aliens from other planets, in 1946, when they bombed those cities with the atomic bomb? Hiroshima and Nagasaki? That is not the same as a strictly human heritage, if it is true. Qualari tried to smile. "Why indeed," she mused. "How would either of us ever know, more than 100 years later? There is some speculation about extraterrestrial, or extragalactic, extrasolar, non-local planetary beings, sentient and intelligent aliens if you will, intruders, or light-speed travelers, quite strange and different but probably very similar to ourselves." And this is endless, as far as the mystery. But for our own star system, the Earth, Venus, Mercury, this planet, and then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto, and other planetary-type far-distant objects yet undiscovered. 4. This star system, only Earth, and now Mars and the other settlements on these worlds only do we find life, which is what you are. So beyond the archive history of real events and DNA history, It matters very little what your great-great-grandmother, Maluthenako, believed about her pregnancy, in 1945. See? Bariska Corso and the matron were again in session at the Yellowknife Base on Mars. Measured from the time when Charles Lincoln was graduating from university in the 1990s, late 20th century, their time was nearly 150 years ahead. Barisa tried to grasp the idea that Charles Lincoln was her own great-grandfather. She had never been to Earth. She had never seen the mountains and hills and snows of Colorado. She had never walked in the normal Earth gravity that was essential to her bodily form, for the natural build and structure of her considerable physicality, as a beautiful, strong, sexually appealing woman. Sadness. Barisa slowly began to understand. She was an expatriate, an immigrant who can never go home. If every other person she would ever know or meet on her journey, had walked on the Earth and seen the ocean, waves and blue sky and clouds, this was something she could never share. Because her own birthplace was from within the deep, dark, hidden caverns and silvery ice mountains of Pluto. Even her very earliest memories, as an infant or toddler, were of these locations. And Pluto was only a cold, barren, lifeless, icy-bound darkness. As inhospitable to human life as anyone could imagine. In a word, home. So for her, to learn about her family history and life on Earth in general, was an awakening she had never anticipated, and a joy, like an unfolding wonder. Earth. Earth is home. Earth. I'm from the planet Earth. They grow corn and food and apples and grapes right out of the ground with real water from lakes and rivers right under the open sky and clouds. Terra firma. They have wild animals in the wilderness, like bears and lions, and birds that fly in the air anywhere they want. And Earth has cities, and millions of people, just like me. Kualari the matron again smiled, sadly recognizing the same truth about her new friend. The sessions were held at the Yellowknife Community Center. The Yellowknife settlement was fairly new, and smaller than the larger group at the Snicta Ridge base. By then, both bases were fully functional. It was about 9 months or a year to reach Earth, and ships went back and forth at regular intervals. The Snicta Ridge community was 40 years old, established and maintained through an established network of services connected directly to Earth. Earth space programs by year 2200 AD were very advanced beyond Charles Lincoln's time. And at Hiroshima, in year 1946, it was hardly confirmed in the sciences that Earth orbit was even possible for man. Year 1945. Almost 2,000 solar planetary orbits measured from the time of the beloved prophet and Jewish Messiah of ancient Nazareth. 1845, 1745, 1645, 1545, 1445 and back into an elongated story of a world gone mad with every sort of cruel selfish inhumanity, such that even with the waste and devastation of nuclear atom bombs, the warring sides had actually called these bombs and missiles peacemakers, of a famous religious parable by the same visionary, become strictly coded religious doctrine, and then weapons of mass destruction. (1945). The war with the Nazis ended. But what of Earth? What of the people? What of the gift of nature, the mountains and trees and valleys and farms? Were they still there? By the end of the century at year 2000, Charles Lincoln Corso, the son of Melu and Philip, was well on his way towards a career in military service, as an advanced degree pilot. Barisa, or Qualeri, had never really witnessed the awesome destructive power of the fighter jets of that time. It was also a period of intense, tortuous and truly evil warfare. But Charles, the boldly inquisitive youth from a mysterious and elite New Mexico family, would not serve in Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya. Little did he know or understand, but soon learned, that he had been chosen to serve in a secret space program. And what Charles knew or understood about it, was that he also had a choice. It was not forgotten that his own father had invented the so-called Jack Killer program, and this was by then almost entirely a specialized training routine, intended to quick-start jet fighter pilots for unique service in space. Later, the program would expand vastly, and even then, Charles quickly learned that the world's greater powers had already advanced far beyond what he knew of aircraft and jet fighters, or the space shuttles, or the orbiting space station, or the moon landings, or the various deep space probes and lander robots. Jack the Giant Slayer. Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack was a good boy and did whatever his mother told him. But one day she asked him to take the cow to market, and sell her for a good price to pay the rent on their house. But along the way Jack traded the cow for magic beans. And the magic beans were worse than worthless to him. In his anger and rage that his mother would soon find him out, for a bad boy. And then there was the giant. I smell the blood of an alien. Julian Phillips with Tom Luong. August 2, 2018. Valor, California. Peace Ahimsa.